Hi, you're listening to The Island of a Lost Pilot by Rajesh Bhatia, narrated by Deepak Agnihotri. Chapter 27, Pratas Island. After 1 hour and after covering about 280 kilometers, Pratas Island or Dongsha Island was visible. A paramecium-shaped, oblong island, about 2 miles long and half-mile wide. Its latitude and longitude are 20.43 north and 116.42 east respectively, and is about 340 kilometers southeast of Hong Kong. It is controlled by Chinese government and sometimes the army has its activities here. In spite of a very small size, there is an airstrip with a small airport, quarters for army personnel, laboratories for research scientists, a military post office, temples, trees, landscapes, roads, vehicles, etc. The colonel instructed the pilot to circle the island so that Shekhar and the boys could view this beautiful island. The island appeared into full view and they could see the airstrip on the northwest side. On the end of the airstrip could be seen 3 aircrafts side by side. There were 2 sky blue colored Jian 7 fighter planes standing boldly sandwiching the third plane, a civilian plane, and Shekhar recognized it. He had traveled thousands of miles in this plane. It was Ming's plane. The helicopter landed in front of the airport building and 2 jeeps appeared from nowhere. Their luggage was loaded in one jeep by the soldiers while they mounted the other jeep. Colonel sat beside the driver. The rear of the jeep had 2 benches lengthwise facing each other. On one bench sat Ming, his hands still tied, and the open end of the rope was again tied to the railings of the open jeep. A soldier sat near to him with a gun pointed at him. Shekhar, Rohan and Ryan were seated on the other bench, facing Ming and the soldier. Ming saw Rohan and Ryan carefully for the first time. He saw Rohan, who was also constantly watching him, not in a very happy mood. Ming looked at his big hands and perfect biceps and was glad to be a captive of the Chinese military. He again looked at Rohan. The eyes contacted, and Ming thought of a fly crushed by a big fist. Ming shuddered and looked at Ryan, who didn't seem to bother and was astonished at his powerful build. Although seated, Ming could easily estimate Ryan's height. "Oh my God! I am sorry for what I have done. Please save me from beating by these strong men," he prayed silently. The other jeep carried their luggage and the remaining 3 soldiers who had accompanied them in the helicopter. They reached the army quarters and were given the apartment adjoining to that of the Colonel Sayo. The apartment was a 3-bedroom apartment, but Shekhar insisted for an extra bed for Ryan to be placed in their room. Colonel Sayo appeared with an orderly and said to Shekhar, "Dear Mr. Shekhar, feel yourself comfortable like your own home. You are my honorable guests. You can freshen up. Now it is 10:55 and let us meet at 12 at my bungalow, which is near, and when will take you there?" "Will that be all right?" "Sure, Colonel, that is so nice of you," replied Shekhar and handed him Andrew's logbook, which he had taken from Ryan. "I will go through it till you return. By the way, when we'll be in the adjoining room, you can ring this bell to summon him for any assistance." "Thank you, Colonel," Shekhar answered, thought something and added, "There is a request." He paused and indicated towards Ryan. "I want some clothes for him." Colonel, who was himself 5 foot 7 inches tall, looked at the huge frame of Ryan and said, "I will certainly try." Ming was locked up in a cell among a series of cells situated in a building about 100 meters away. Shekhar took Ryan to a bathroom, fixed water, soap and shampoo for him, and explained briefly about their usage. The usage of taps, showers, toilet seat and the bathtub. He gave him a towel and asked him to take a bath and come out fast. Rohan and Shekhar used the other bathroom, and after 45 minutes, all were ready to go and meet the colonel. Rohan and Shekhar had changed the clothes. The orderly knocked and announced that the clothes to fit Ryan were not available on Pratas Island. Then, with their permission, he ushered an elderly China man who was introduced as Mr. Lin, a tailor who sewed and repaired the clothes there. Mr. Lin was too short that he had to stand on a stool to take the measurements of Ryan. He made notes of the measurements, frowned in astonishment, rechecked, and left. At 12 noon, they were sitting comfortably in the veranda of Colonel Sayo's building. An orderly brought tea, cake, and biscuits. Colonel lighted a pipe, took a few deep puffs, and exhaled aromatic smoke. He relaxed and said, "This fellow Ming is a shame on Chinese people. Whatever he has done can't be forgiven. For a few $1,000s, he had written a death sentence for all of you. I have read about Ryan and feel sorry for his hard and lonely life. His whole childhood is crushed, without parents and away from his home. Colonel, now it is my duty to send him to his home. And also don't worry about Ming now. He will be a good man from now onwards. But how you came across him?" The colonel handed back the logbook to Shekhar and narrated the meeting with Ming, and the chain of events is summarized like this. It was the time when Ming was on his way to Sek Kong after betraying Shekhar and was humming and whistling moodily, making plans of future with all the money he had now. Suddenly he was surprised to find 2 Xian 7 interceptor fighters of Chinese Air Force around his aircraft. One plane was on top of him and the other was on his left side. The left side plane was so near that he was able to see the outlines of the angry pilot, who was signaling him to take the plane down. He protested, and the fighter plane's pilot took out a gun and threatened him. He should take down the plane, otherwise he will be attacked, was the intention. "Down! Down! But where?" Ming made a sign. The pilot spoke something in his mic, and the plane on the top gathered speed and now was in front of Ming's plane, about 500 meters ahead at a lower altitude. Ming looked at the pilot on his left, who pointed at the plane in front of them and indicated him to follow that plane. Ming had no choice but to follow the orders. He followed the plane, which gradually lowered, and then the outline of Pratas Island, and then its runway appeared. The leading plane lowered and landed on the airstrip from west to north and turned towards the airport building. Ming circled the island and landed in a similar way and parked the plane beside the landed plane from which the pilot was coming out. About 8 or 9 soldiers of Chinese military came running with automatic rifles and surrounded Ming's plane. The second Xian 7 landed and parked beside Ming's plane so that Ming's plane was sandwiched between the 2 fighter planes. Both the pilots reached Ming's plane and Ming got down, shaking like a leaf. "Capture him," ordered one of the pilots, "and take him to Captain Y." Captain Y was seated in his office, writing something, when Ming was brought to him. "So, this is the man who was wandering in this part of the sea?" "Yes, Captain," said one of the soldiers. "His plane is also captured." Ming was served, and the huge sum of money was taken from his pockets and deposited on the table. "From where have you got the money?" "I'm not an ordinary man. I'm a pilot and own 3 planes which serve as chartered planes. This money is my money. Your people have wasted my time. I will lodge a complaint against you for harassing me." "We are not harassing you. We are just doing our duty. For the last few days, you have been seen wandering in circles over a certain area. What were you doing? Hunting for a lost treasure? I want an explanation." "All these days, I was on chartered flights." "Chartered flights to where? And who was your client?" "Chartered flights to Philippines with an Indian passenger." "I see. But a soldier entered, saluted, and said, "Captain, we have found some stuff in the aircraft and want to show that to you." "Can you bring the stuff here, or should I go up to the plane?" "There is a lot of stuff. We wish you to go to the aircraft and see it." "I will certainly go. Have you listed the stuff?" "Yes, sir." "Then give me the list. It will save some time." The soldier handed Captain a list, which included the items which were not dropped at the island after Shekhar. Captain was surprised. He simply asked Ming, "What is all this stuff?" "This all stuff belongs to my client." The soldier enlightened Captain with the fact that all the stuff was in waterproof bags, attached to parachutes along with floats. The captain was puzzled more than ever. "And where is your client?" I dropped him at Philippines. Dropped by parachute, I suppose? Well, no, not that way, stammered Ming. Who tied the bags with the parachutes? My client did. Why? I don't know. Look, Mr. Ming, do you think that we are fools here? I'm not fooling you. Why the raft and engine? You have a satellite phone also. And what do you wanted to do with the flares? I don't know. This was all done by my client. Oh, for God's sake, don't put us in circles. Tell the truth, thundered the captain. You can't intimidate me by shouting at me. First of all, I'm forced to land here, and now this rude behavior of yours. Do as you wish. I'm not going to spare you. I will certainly take a step against you, Ming also said in a loud voice. Look, Ming, Colonel Sayo is the boss here. Your plane was seen on radar on every day for the last few days. He has also seen you circling on the sea around a certain area. He has left today for a meeting to Hong Kong. We have his orders to capture you and find out the truth of you being here. If we are convinced, we are to let you go. Captain looked hard at Ming and continued in the same slow tone. All the stuff you carry and your non-cooperation is not convincing us. I will have to ask the colonel for further orders. Meanwhile, you will be our guest in captivity. You can't do this to me. I will sue you all. I'm a busy man. My time is valuable. I will face a loss of $4,000 every day. I will recover it from you, from Chinese army, along with demurrages for defamation of character. Ming was very excited. He panted and wanted to sit. Finding no place, he sat on the ground and sighed heavily. For the security of our country, we can spare no one. We are not at all intimidated by your threats. We want to be sure of your motives. We are detaining you on the charge of espionage for the time being. You will be free to take any action when you will leave this island. For how long are you going to detain me? Ming was worried now. I will have to speak to the colonel for that. It may take some time. During that time, you can think of your story and tell us if you wish. If your story convinces us and the colonel, you will be free to go. Captain Y ordered the soldiers to lock up Ming and put a security guard over him. Captain Y was able to talk to the colonel in the evening, who was also worried about the reason of presence of Ming here. Captain, the secret scientific activities are not known to anyone. We only know that the scientists are here for some very secret mission. We even don't know about any hint of the mission. We are here to protect them and this island. There is something fishy about his activities. No, Captain, no. We can't let him go. Today is Thursday, and I expect to come back on Sunday. Let us wait then, till Sunday. Okay, sir. Colonel Sayo couldn't come on Sunday. He came back on Monday evening at about 4 p.m. Ming confronted Colonel Sayo in far more bitter manner as he did with the captain. He thought that by shouting and threatening to sue and taking legal action, the things may turn and he will be set free. But the colonel was not pleased. He came near to Ming and slapped him hard. Ming was not prepared for it. His dentures flew out on the floor because of the blow. His head started spinning and he sat on the floor. Collect your stuff, the colonel indicated at the dentures. You filthy fellow! I'm not going to spare you because of your age or weakening body. My soldiers will thrash you so much that flying a plane is a different thing. You will not be able to even walk properly. Ming lifted his dentures and looked at the colonel with venom in his eyes. You don't know who I am. I have contacts with very high authorities. Let me reach Hong Kong and then you will repent for the consequences. You will repent that you chose a wrong person to threaten. You will do anything only when you will be able to leave this island, said Colonel Sayo calmly. Colonel paced the floor for some time and faced Captain Y. Captain, take this worm away and ask your boys to thrash him to their content. If you are not convinced with his story, don't come to me. Just shoot him. Throw his body in the sea along with his aircraft and all the stuff he is carrying. These are my orders. Don't come to me again. I have more urgent matters to attend. The captain and his soldiers were pleased at the orders. Captain smiled and held Ming by the collar and said, "You heard the orders. Come, let us make arrangements for your burial at sea. You had been troubling us for the last 4 days. Now the time has come to get rid of our problems." Ming could feel the determination in the captain's voice. He looked at the colonel, who had turned his back and was busy studying a file. Captain Y was dragging him out. When he reached the door, Ming realized that if he crossed the door, the captain will certainly kill him. Only Colonel could save him. Now or never, he thought and shouted, "Stop, stop! I will tell the truth, the whole truth." Colonel Sayo closed the file and ordered to bring Ming inside. Ming sang like a canary. He told everything he knew. He told about the anxiety of her father for his lost son, his spending of money, the purchase of articles, the huge commissions he got, the search that lasted for thousands of miles, the bravery of father who jumped first time with a parachute for his son, and lastly, his betrayal for the money and the articles he had with him. He confessed that he ran away with all the stuff so that Shekhar and his son are not able to come back from the island forever. Everyone was stunned at the cowardly deed of Ming. Colonel Sayo came forward and slapped Ming again. This time the dentures didn't fly out, as Ming had taken them in his fist. Colonel hit him again with his left hand on the other cheek. "I'm sorry, Colonel. You can keep all the money and all this stuff. Please let me go. I will give you more money." "Do you think that we are also for sale like you? For this little money, you sentenced a poor man and son for life imprisonment on a lonely island. You were paid very well. That man trusted you, and you betrayed him. No, your deed is not to be forgiven. You are a bad spot on China. Don't you know that Indians are very good-hearted and kind people? India is God's country, and you have betrayed a genuine and innocent person like Shekhar." Colonel Sayo was extremely upset and sincerely worried about Shekhar and Rohan. "What do we do now, Captain? This man Ming is not a true Chinese. We should do something to wash his sin off China's face. Sir, let us take him to that island. If he can't tell us the whereabouts of the father and the son, or if we don't find the island, we will throw him in the sea there and then." "That will be all right, Captain. Go and keep the helicopter ready. We will leave at once." There was one ZHI-8 helicopter for the military use, which Colonel Sayo had taken to Hong Kong for the meetings. They all boarded the craft and started their search for the island. This was the evening when Rohan heard the helicopter. They had to return as the darkness had set in and fuel was left only for their return. "And the next day, today, we succeeded in finding you and brought you all here," said Colonel to Shekhar. "That clears everything, how you have found us." Shekhar held Colonel's hands and added, "I'm grateful to you, Colonel, for helping me. Now I can go back to India and face my wife and daughter." "Don't mention it again, Shekhar. I and my family all are grateful to one great Indian and will do anything on this earth to help any Indian in trouble." "Why so?" Shekhar was curious. "Shekhar, my father was a soldier when he went to the front in Indo-Chinese War of 1962. My mother loved him, and he had promised to marry her on his return. My maternal grandfather didn't like my father, and he wanted my mother to marry the son of his grocer's friend, a neighbor." Colonel paused and scraped the tobacco with a pipe tool and lighted extinguished tobacco again, took 3 or 4 puffs and continued. "My father was captured, and an Indian major, Major Ghanshyam was his name, took pity on my father and released him to go back. He had asked my father about his family. As my father had old parents and he was their only son, the Major felt that my grandparents needed my father in their old age. Major said that he disliked the war, and to kill my father was like killing his parents too." Colonel paused, sighed, took more puffs and looked at Shekhar, who was deeply interested in his story. "My father came back. He was deeply touched by the kindness of Major Ghanshyam and always wondered whether all Indians are that good as the Major was. My father always taught me to be friendly with Indians and help them. My father married my mother, and I was born in 1964. My father and I myself will always be indebted to that major. I am what today is because of that major. If my father would have not returned, my mother would have been married to that grocer's son, and today I would have been selling rice, sugar, and pulses like his son does today." And the colonel laughed wholeheartedly. Shekhar also accompanied him. When they ceased laughing, Colonel asked Shekhar, "Shekhar, I always wondered, what does Ghanshyam mean? Can you tell me?" Shekhar smiled and replied, "It is a name given to Lord Krishna. Ghanshyam literally means dark-colored, like dark clouds, and as Lord Krishna was considered to be a dark-complexioned man, hence the name Ghanshyam. But I would like to add that the kindness of Major Ghanshyam did not go wasted, and you have also come to us like Lord Krishna himself. Had your father not been grateful to the Major and not taught these values to you, you wouldn't have had respect for Indians in your heart and perhaps not have come to rescue us. It is all for the best, Shekhar. We are only the means, the actual doer is the God. Thank you for enlightening me on Ghanshyam. True enough, Major Ghanshyam is like Lord Krishna himself for our family. My father retired as a colonel, and till this date remembers the Major. He wants to meet the Major again. Shekhar, can you find this Major Ghanshyam when you reach India? India is a big country, and there may be numerous Major Ghanshyams, but still I will try. My uncle is also a colonel in Indian Army. I can take his help, but I wonder whether he would be alive today. He should be alive and healthy. We have always prayed for his health and long life. That is so nice of you, Colonel." An orderly approached and announced that the lunch was ready and arranged on the dining table inside. The lunch was wonderful and consisted of Chinese cuisine. Ryan was the person most happy and pleased. He seemed to forget his life at the island. After the lunch, tea was brought, and Shekhar asked, "What about us, Colonel? How do we proceed now?" "Oh, Shekhar, I have found a good friend in you. Please stay here for a few days as my guest." "You are so kind, Colonel, but after all, we have to go ultimately." Upon Colonel's request, Shekhar decided to stay for one night. It was decided that they will be leaving tomorrow. "Is it possible, Colonel, to telephone my wife and also find out about Ryan's grandfather?" "Sure, you may go out to our wireless department and contact the whole world." "And how do you plan to find Ryan's grandfather?" "I need a computer with internet connection. The grandfather is the owner of a big company, and that is surely bound to have a website, and hence I will be able to find the email ID and telephone numbers. Once I get the telephone number, I would like to talk to him on the telephone in person." "That will be arranged. I will send someone with you. How much time will you need?" About 2 hours maximum." "Then we are meeting after 2 hours, and I will take you for a round of this island, and we will spend the evening together." Shekhar contacted Ritu and Surekha and gave them the good news. Ritu asked if he had faced any difficulty in finding Rohan, and Shekhar had told her not to ask now, and he will explain the details when he will reach there. Rohan spoke to them with tears in his eyes. After the calls were made to Ritu and Surekha, Rohan asked, "Dad, am I allowed to make a personal call to a friend?" "Oh, that!" Shekhar smiled and left the room. Rohan made a quick call to Shreya and came out after Shekhar. Immediately, the website of Walker Group appeared on the screen. It was the same company Andrew had mentioned. There were more than 100 contact numbers, and Shekhar took a print of them along with the email IDs. Ryan was curiously watching all these proceedings. They again reached to the wireless room, and Shekhar tried one number after another and asked for Mr. Oliver Walker. Ultimately, after 40 minutes, he was able to speak to the secretary to Mr. Oliver Walker, CEO of Walker Group of Companies. She said that Shekhar wouldn't be able to speak to Mr. Walker directly, and he will have to explain her the reason of his call. Shekhar didn't wish to tell her the actual reason and told her that the reason was confidential and he would like to speak only to Mr. Walker directly. "Sorry, sir, that's not possible," was her answer. "But can't you give me his mobile phone's number?" persisted Shekhar. I'm not allowed to disclose this information, she said and disconnected the call. Shekhar discussed with Rohan, called her again and said, "Just tell him that I have some valuable information regarding his lost son." "Okay, I will tell him. Right now he is not in a good health. You can give me your number and we will get back to you." "But madam, can't you see that this is important? You give him the information and I'm sure that his health will improve and he will be eager to speak to me. That's up to me to decide what is important to tell it to him and what is not important. You are there only to decide about certain business matters. You are not to decide about his family matters. I'm sure that he will not be pleased to know that you have hidden this important information from him," Shekhar retorted in a very unpleasant tone. The secretary was silent for some time. Her voice was now polite. "Mr. Shekhar, please give me your number and I will certainly call back." Shekhar asked the operator if they have some telephone number of this place, who replied in negative, as this number could not be given to civilians. Shekhar gave his mobile number to her and said, "Right now, madam, my number will not be reachable as I am at a certain place where there is no network coverage. You will be able to call me not before tomorrow evening, and I will be at Hong Kong by that time." Shekhar and Rohan were with Colonel Sayo and updated him with the developments, and he suggested to contact Ryan's grandfather again tomorrow morning. The tailor had brought 2 sets of clothes for Ryan and he was busy in their trials. "There is something else which is bothering me, I think. You can help me there," said Shekhar to Colonel. "Don't hesitate for any help. Go on, tell me." Shekhar narrated him the complete story of Rohan, how he was forced to take drugs at Dongchai Island, how his plane crashed, how he reached that lonely island, and how he was forced to sign the appointment letter on a gunpoint. Shekhar took out the bundles of dollars Chang had handed over to Rohan, placed them on the table and said, "Colonel, we can't take this money with us because this money is not good money and does not belong to us. I don't know what to do with it." Colonel was thoughtful for a few minutes and said ultimately, "Mr. Shekhar, you are really very honest. If all Indians are like Major Ghanshyam and like you and your son Rohan, I bow to the whole of India. Rather, I salute you in the name of India." Saying this, the colonel really stood up and saluted them. Shekhar also stood and both hugged each other. "I think you should call Indian Embassy at Philippines and at Hong Kong. The officers of the embassies will handle this situation onwards." "That will be the correct step for us to take," agreed Shekhar. Ryan returned wearing perfectly fitting uniform of Chinese army, as this was the only cloth available with them at present. He looked stunning and dashing. His hair was also perfectly cut, an army cut by a barber for the army. He was still wearing Shekhar's bathroom slippers, as the shoe for his enormous 13.5 size foot was not available here. The slippers, although number 10 in size, were too short for him. They once again reached the wireless room, now accompanied by the colonel. The operator stood in respect and saluted the colonel. The colonel asked him to contact Mr. D. Singh of Indian Embassy at Philippines. Mr. D. Singh was immediately contacted and Shekhar was given the instrument. Shekhar wasted no time and briefed D. Singh with every information. Mr. D. Singh was a very wise man and also a helpful one. He congratulated Shekhar for finding Rohan healthy and unhurt and said, "Mr. Shekhar, I think that first of all I should arrange for Rohan's passport, which is with frontline people. After that only we should speak to the authorities. Please call me after 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I will consult the higher authorities of the embassy." They had 15 minutes and Colonel suggested that they should call Mr. Oliver Walker again. The contact was made and now the Colonel took the command. "Yes," said the irritated secretary. "This is Colonel Xiao Xiao from Chinese Army and I have to speak to Mr. Oliver Walker upon a very urgent and confidential matter." The authority in Colonel's voice did its work and the secretary softened but was still stubborn. She said, "Sir, Mr. Walker is not feeling well today. The doctors have advised him to take rest and..." The colonel interrupted and said, With my very little efforts, I will be able to speak to the Australian Prime Minister through the Chinese Embassy at Australia. I hope that neither Mr. Walker nor you will refuse to speak to your Prime Minister. But as I am not in the habit of killing a bird with a cannonball, and I believe it to be killed with a stone, I insist you to connect me to your boss and not waste any more of my precious time. I will see. Please hold on, said she, and within a minute Mr. Walker was on the line. Yes, Colonel. What do you wish to tell me that can't wait? Said Mr. Walker dryly in an unpleasant voice. Sorry for bothering you, Mr. Walker. I have Mr. Shekhar with me, who will tell you the important news. Shekhar said, Mr. Walker, your son Andrew and grandson Ryan met with an air crash in 1989. Yes, and in that crash no one survived. This news is more than 18 years old. What is new in it? Said Mr. Walker irritably. The news is that your son and grandson were safe after the crash and reached at a lonely island. Then why my son has not contacted me? Because he could not find the way from the island and died there about 1.5 months later. How do you know this? And what happened to my grandson Ryan? I know it from a diary, or more precisely a diary written on a logbook your son gave to your grandson Ryan. And Ryan spent a miserable 18 years on that solitary island. Listen, Mr. Shekhar, I don't know who you are, but I am certain that of this whole world you have selected only me to make an April fool of me. This is such a bad joke that I am not pleased with it, as you have dragged the names of my loved ones, whom I have lost long time back. Don't take me wrong, Mr. Walker. I even don't remember what day is today. Shekhar gave him a very brief account of his visit to that island, and by merely a stroke of luck, he had come across Ryan and the description in the diary. What are you talking? It means my Ryan is alive. The voice of Mr. Walker was trembling with emotions. The strict and unpleasant attitude was blown away. He is very much alive and with me now, but as he has lived there alone and nobody was there to teach him anything, his mental level has not much improved, and it is not more than that of a 7-year-old child. But he is intelligent and will learn very soon. Mr. Walker didn't speak for a long time. Mr. Walker? Mr. Walker? Are you still on the line? Obviously, Mr. Walker was crying and trying to control himself for further conversation. How does it look, Mr. Shekhar? Mr. Walker cried again. Mr. Walker, control yourself. He is very handsome, very tall, about 6'4", blue eyes, high cheekbones, thin lips, very fit and strongly built. Mr. Walker digested the information, imagined his grandson, compared the description with the 7-year-old Ryan then with Andrew, and cried again. Shekhar waited for him to speak. Where are you now? How can I meet you? Said Mr. Walker in a hoarse voice which comes out when one has cried and then composed himself. With some difficulties I have rescued him, and at present we are at a place called Pratas Island, about 190 nautical miles from Hong Kong. Tomorrow we are going to Hong Kong, and you can meet us there. I will certainly be there as soon as it is humanly possible, promised Mr. Walker. One more thing you should not forget. What's that? Asked the old man suspiciously. You are an expert in footwear manufacturing. Please bring 13.5 size shoe for your grandson, as I am afraid that this size will not be available in Hong Kong. Without clothes and without shoes, he has grown beyond limits, said Shekhar with a twinkle in his eyes and grin. I will certainly bring, certainly, Mr. Shekhar, said Mr. Walker with a voice trembling with emotions, dying to see his grandson. He remembered something and said, Do you want some clothes too? That will be excellent. The t-shirt size will be about 50 and 38 will be the size of trousers. Remember, he is about 6'4" tall. That will be done. The numbers were exchanged and Mr. Walker promised to reach at Hong Kong as early as possible. It was not difficult for him, as he had his own jet planes kept ready to take off at any time at Sydney Airport. Now the call was made to Mr. D. Singh, who informed them that he had arranged for a messenger from the embassy who will collect the passport of Rohan by 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. As soon as he has the passport in his hand, he will inform Mr. D. Singh, and only after that they will take any further action. And now, as you have done every possible thing you could do, let us have our evening tea and move on for a visit of the beautiful Pratas Island, suggested the colonel. The colonel was a very good guide. He himself drove the BJ 2020 Beijing Jeep and narrated about all the places which appeared on the way of the small island. They traversed through the crisscross roads, on the sandy beaches that surrounded the island, and on the airstrip. The colonel took them up to the southeast corner where the national and the island monuments were situated facing the sea. They visited the various buildings like Management Station, Fishermen's Service Station, and the Fort Army. They spent some time around the Pratas Dawang Temple, which was dedicated to Kuang Kong, and the South China Sea goddess, Mazu. It was the most beautiful, colorful, and peaceful place on the island. They lighted joss sticks and candles and thanked the goddess for saving their lives. It was darkness when they returned from the tour. The generators were switched on and the whole island was lighted with a dull pale light. The weather was cool and humid, the wind fierce and noisy, as there was no obstruction on all sides of the island. Shekhar and Rohan had changed into night suits after a cool shower and were waiting in the colonel's drawing room. Colonel appeared in a nightgown and called for his orderly, who brought a tray with scotch, soda and water. Colonel rubbed his hands and invited Shekhar. "Come on, Shekhar, let us celebrate for finding Rohan and for the liberation of Ryan from that island." "I'm sorry, Colonel, I don't drink, and so does Rohan." "Ah, very surprising indeed. But I have heard that the businessmen of North India have it as daily habit." "I am not of that type, Colonel. Therefore, I am also not that successful." "But you are wonderful. I have first time met people like you, who are away from bad habits. I think you won't refuse to apple juice for the sake of my company." "Dear Colonel, my friend, I will not even refuse to scotch if it pleases you." "Not that way, Shekhar, not that way. I don't want to spoil a good boy like you," said Colonel promptly and laughed. They sat merrily for about 1 hour. The colonel had 2 large pegs of scotch, while Shekhar and Rohan accompanied them with apple juice in their glasses. Ryan also joined them. The dinner was served and they ate silently. The colonel was eating the noodles with chopsticks. Ryan tried to copy him but couldn't eat properly. Rohan smiled and handed him a fork to use instead. "So, you have decided to go back tomorrow morning?" asked Colonel after the dinner, sitting in his drawing room. "I would love to stay here for a very long time. You are a perfect example of hospitality. But you see, Mr. Walker will be reaching Hong Kong tomorrow and worried about Ryan." "Oh, yes, then you must go. You see, Shekhar, you are doing a very good work. I am sure the soul of Ryan's father will now rest in peace, and the old man, the grandfather, will take his last breath with a huge burden off his chest." "Colonel, without your help it was not at all possible." "I am always there for any help." "I may need another help then." "Help? What sort of help?" "I don't know what to do. As you know, we will be going by Ming's plane." "The problem lies with the plane. We have only 3 seats in the plane and we are 4. To accommodate all the stuff, we had to remove the other seats." The colonel scratched the stubble on his chin and said, "In fact, my work at Hong Kong is not yet finished. Wait till tomorrow. I think I may also have to go to Hong Kong tomorrow. In that case, any one of you may accompany me." "That will be the best plan for us." Shekhar was happy now, but again knitted his brows and said, There is one more small issue, Colonel." Colonel smiled patiently. "And what's that now?" "As Rohan and Ryan will have to go to their respective embassies, how will anyone believe that they were on that island? How can anyone believe that Ryan had spent 18 years there? And how can anyone believe that Rohan is the same person who came from Philippines and his plane crashed at some place near the island and he accidentally reached at that island? Both of them don't have passports with them. Colonel once again scratched his chin, and once again he had the solution. See, Shekhar, I can give a letter of recommendation to the embassies on my letterhead, and I'm sure that you will not have any problem then. The embassies can always verify it from me. If necessary, I will also accompany to the embassies or ask my senior officers to put their feet in this matter. I think that will be wonderful. Now I will be able to sleep properly today. Otherwise, I would have certainly pondered over this problem throughout the night. They bade good night and went to their respective bedrooms in their apartments. 22nd April 2008, Wednesday. By 9:30 a.m. all were ready, had their breakfast, and were waiting with their luggage packed. The colonel was not with them and was busy in his office. 2 soldiers appeared and carried their luggage to Ming's aircraft, which was sufficiently fueled and inspected for the flight. At 10:15, they were in the colonel's office as per his orders. I have some good news that I am also going to Hong Kong. The helicopter is also kept ready. That is indeed very good, replied Shekhar. The clerk brought a couple of letterheads with some long documents printed on them. The colonel inspected them and nodded in satisfaction. The matter was as he had advised. He asked the clerk to send the photographer. Within 5 minutes, a photographer arrived with a couple of cameras. With a Polaroid camera, he clicked Rohan and Ryan and immediately handed 4 photographs, each of them, to the colonel. The clerk pasted the photographs in empty spaces on the top of the printed matter, and the colonel signed the documents. He handed the documents to Shekhar for his approval. The documents addressed to the High Commissioner of Embassies were, in fact, sort of certificates in which the colonel had certified the findings of Rohan and Ryan on that island. The document regarding Ryan was like this. The High Commissioner, Embassy of Australia, Hong Kong. Subject: Finding of Mr. Ryan Walker, age 25, son of late Mr. Andrew Walker of Australia. Dear Sir, Mr. Ryan Walker is the grandson of the prominent businessman Mr. Oliver Walker of Walker Group of Industries of Australia. He, along with his father Mr. Andrew Walker, was on an aeroplane in November 1989 when the plane crashed in the South China Sea. Mr. Ryan, who was only 7 years old that time, was saved by his injured father, Andrew Walker. Mr. Andrew Walker didn't lose his courage and brought his son to a lonely island. Due to his injuries, the father succumbed to death after about 1.5 months, but by that time had instructed his son how to live all alone on the island after his death. The son lived there for 18 years of his own, and having had some information, I reached there and rescued the young man. Now his grandfather, Mr. Oliver Walker, has been contacted, who is on the way to take the custody of his grandson. You are therefore requested to kindly help the grandfather to take him to Australia. The sufferings of a little boy are beyond repair. His childhood has been lost at that lonely island, and so I would request you to kindly do the needful. Thanking you, sincerely yours. Signed, Colonel Xiao Xiao, Pratas Island. PO number 817, South China Sea. On a small vacant place, the photograph of Ryan was pasted and attested by the colonel. A thumbprint of Ryan was also attested. A similar letter addressed to the Consul General, Consulate General of India, Hong Kong, was given for Rohan. Mr. Shekhar, you can show these letters at the airport to take Rohan and Ryan out. If they won't allow, they may call the police, and the police should take them to their respective embassies. Meanwhile, you should keep in touch with Mr. D. Singh, who will send Rohan's passport to Hong Kong. Also, Ryan's grandfather, who is a big gun himself, will arrive and take charge of Ryan. I will be there in Hong Kong for any type of help. Ming was summoned. He was looking fresh and fed. Today, he was given a seat beside Shekhar. Colonel spoke. Look, Mr. Ming, Mr. Shekhar here is a very good man, and you also must have seen it by now. The way you have betrayed him, anybody other than him would have certainly killed you. Not only he had refrained from beating you, he had also refused to take any criminal action against you, as he has ultimately found his son. Now, Shekhar is my friend. You are taking Rohan and Ryan with you to Sek Kong, and they will be under your guardianship. Shekhar will accompany me. I don't want any funny moves now. Otherwise, I can at any time get you put behind the bars.
I make myself very clear then. I and my soldiers will be the witnesses against you.
And I will ensure that you are imprisoned for your rest of life. Ming was nodding at every sentence like an obedient student. Yes, Colonel, I thank you for forgiving me. Ming turned towards Shekhar and sat on the ground with his hands on Shekhar's knees and said, You have a very big heart indeed. I thank you for forgiving me and saving my life at that island. I promise you that I will be a changed man now onwards.